And then the first step is taping down the lashes. So we tape down the lashes because we don't want to glue their eyes shut. We have to protect those bottom lashes.
Oh wow.
So we're gonna use. Oh, I don't need those. Actually, we're just
Here guys.
Freeze like my whole day.
everything. Oh, I know what I was doing. All right. Well, that's not what I was looking for. It's fine. Normally, we're gonna clean the eye area with our prep solution. I didn't grab any because somebody took everything out of my instructor kit and just put it all in a box. I'm like, why? Why? Just why? I don't know. I just work here. It's fine. All right. So when we're taping down the lashes, if you guys have watched lash videos, a lot of times they have the clients like look back and like when they're taping down the lashes. I have found, so if you guys feel your eye, just put your finger under your eye and then look up. That skin moves, right? As you look up. So if they're looking up when we tape down the lashes, when they bring their things back down, the tape is anchored over here on skin that doesn't move, so then it stays. So then the tape is too close and a couple of different things can happen. First thing that is gonna happen is it's gonna kink those upper lashes. So you're not gonna have a nice smooth, you're gonna have like a crease, so you're not gonna be able to get the lashes as close as you normally would be able to. The next thing it could potentially do is it could push that tape into their eye and cause little microscopic scratches on their eye. So don't have your clients look up when we're taping down the lashes. I just touched my eyeball, so before I touch Shandy's, I need to sanitize my hands again.
Here you go.
I got one.
Also, Brie, when you did the lash class with us, you were talking about how like sometimes it leaves that little chunky bit. I saw a couple of lash sets on Instagram, and I was like, I know that she taped it down while she was looking up because they were missing on the ends.
Yeah, it'll like when they relax their eyes after they close them, these corner ones will kink so bad that you cannot lash them. So don't have them look up. It's silly. Like, just don't do it. You can lash and not have them look up. They're just gonna have a nice natural gaze, and it's gonna be fine. So you guys
Also,
are
I've
gonna
had those micro cuts and they are not fun.
no.
Yeah,
We talked about that because your eyes were so irritated.
That was the last time I got my lashes done because it hurt so bad. I was so scared to go get them done again.
Yeah. She came in, she's like, my eyes are so red. What happened? I was like, you got micro cuts from the tape. And then she went to the doctor, and that's exactly what it was.
I had like goop or like gunk coming out of my eye. It was not fun.
Yeah, it causes pink eye from trauma. It's not really that there's an infection, but your body tries to heal it, so it increases like the moisture content around the eye. So as it's healing it, you end up with like nasty, crusty eyes.
And that's why you like your one tape, right?
Yeah, so I like the one tape because it's softer. I mean, this tape's pretty soft, but it's still any tape you use, you guys, if it gets close to the eye, just like a paper cut, it'll just cut the eye. I don't like plasticky tape. Don't get plasticky tape because that one does cause lots of issues. But all right, Miss Shandy, will you pull your mask down for me? Okay. So your client's going to be laying down. This is the first time I've ever lashed somebody's eyes with them sitting up, so we'll see how it goes. So just have a nice natural gaze out towards them for me, Shandy. You'll use your fingers. So she's laying down. I'm going to use my fingers. I'm just going to pull the skin down a little bit and then the eyelid up. And that's going to open up the eye to where if they have like super long lashes and I can't get to it. I'm going to start with the outer corner. Place the tape on the eyelash and then kind of pull down just a little bit. Shandy also has beautiful makeup on too, so her tape's not going to want to stay super great, but that's okay.
Look at that glowing skin.
And then you're going to take and you're going to do the inner corners. Place and kind of draw down a little bit. And then any that pop up through the center, you're going to do one across the middle. So I'm going to have you guys go ahead and clear off your beds and trade with the person who's at your station. mannequin, and so it doesn't get glue all over it, I do usually put a couple strips of tape down on my mannequin. And you guys can follow along and start prepping your mannequins as well. So just a couple pieces of tape there. Then you're gonna take your lashes and you're putting them right in that little slit on your mannequin's eyes. And you guys, they do have, if you have a tough time practicing on these mannequins, they do have for fairly cheap, like 10 or 15 bucks, maybe at most. They actually have mannequins that are made for practicing lash extensions on. You can get them on Amazon for super cheap. So if yeah. So if you struggle with doing them on your mannequin, on this guy, you can get them off there. And then I go in and I just tape down like the little corner pieces of the lash strip so it doesn't move around. Okay. So. All right, so first thing I want to talk to you guys a little bit is patterning on your mannequins or on your clients. So there are a lot of people when they first start out, and I don't have a pen on me, but when they first start out on their actual lash pad, they'll actually draw lines where they need to make the transitions. Oh, perfect. So maybe I'm doing a cat eye, so I want my 12s on the outer corner. So then I can come in like a third of the way, draw a line, and then I would do 11s, come in another third, and 10s. So you can totally pattern right onto the tape on what you're doing. So you always remember when you're first starting out, that's a great technique that you can do. I actually pattern with my lashes. So what I do is I take the length of lashes that I'm going to use and I use those lashes. So we're gonna pretend these because I just grabbed one length because I don't want to use a whole bunch. All right. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna come like a third of the way in. So again, pretending I'm doing that cat eye, I'm gonna come that third of the way in where I would draw that line. I'm gonna isolate my lash. When we're isolating, you guys, the anchor for your tweezers is in your hands and you're anchoring on their forehead. You don't wanna put a lot of pressure on the very tips of your fingers because you can poke through the lash pad and the tape and poke your client in the eye, okay? So you're anchoring, you're putting your hand mainly on their forehead, and that's where you're anchoring from. That way, if they move or flutter, you're not putting pressure here, right? If they move their head, your hand's going to move with them, okay? So then I'm gonna take my hooked tweezers, and as close to the lash line as I can get, I'm gonna start moving lashes out of the way, and I'm gonna use my straight ones until I have an eyelash isolated. bring my tweezers over. And then I'm gonna relax my hand and let the tweezers open up. Don't fight against the tweezers, right? They want to be in this open position. That's the way they're designed. So when you fight against that, it makes your hands get really super tired. So once you have your isolation, just let your hands relax and let those tweezers open up. Then I'm gonna come to my lash tray and I'm gonna grab my single eyelash. Takes practice. If you don't grab single ones right off the bat, don't worry, you're not the only one. It does take some practice to be able to get one eyelash. I'm gonna take the bottom third of that eyelash and I'm gonna run it through my glue. And then there will be little beads of glue on my lash extension, like a single haired paintbrush, okay? When I come to place it, I'm not gonna go right at the base of the eyelash, just like we kind of talked about yesterday, then we get that big glob of goop, right? So I'm going about halfway up the eyelash. I'm doing that first swipe. Then I'm gonna wipe off any glue that's left on that lash extension. And I'm gonna use that to spread any glue that's left on that eyelash across the extension. And then I'm just gonna drop my extension right into place. It's sticking to my tweezer. There we go, okay. It does have that little bit of a longer cure time, so if you need to tap it so that it's kind of straight up and down, you don't want them like leaning or anything like that. You want it to be a nice straight lash. I'm gonna hold a few seconds and then I can release, and then I'm gonna come over to the next line that I would have drawn. Third of the way over again, I'm gonna isolate. And I'm gonna put my next length. So then my next length would be 11s. It's really weird working from this angle.
Bree, do you use a lash tile or do you go straight out?
Depends on what I'm doing. Like my pre-made volume fans, I go straight out of my thing because they're a pain in the butt. They like to, at least the ones I was getting, they kind of, once you take the sticky piece off and put it on something else, they don't like to stick very good. So, and they're more expensive, and so I don't want to like not use that whole strip and then not be able to put it back in the case. Yeah. So then I'm gonna get my beads of glue halfway, swipe, wipe off the excess, get that whole lash coated, and then drop it into place.
Oh my gosh, this left hand training.
Are you a lefty?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying, just having to use my left hand.
Learning to
I
use the left hand, becoming ambidextrous.
I'm just trying it both ways to see which way I'm working.
Yeah.
I need.
And then I'm gonna come over with my shortest length of the very inner corner. I'm gonna isolate, grab my lash, run it through. See how it has just a few beads of glue. I'm gonna get off the lash, wipe off the excess, spread the glue, and drop it into place.
Come up after you guys look.
And then what kind of glue is this? Like the tin-sticking glue?
Yeah, this is the Babe, the medium dry, same one you guys have.
Bree, when you're shaking your glue, do you shake up and down or side to side? Because I've always done it side to side.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't? Okay.
All right. So then a lot of lash artists, you guys will watch videos and they'll do an eyelash on this side, and then they'll do an eyelash on this side, and then they'll do an eyelash on this side, and then they'll do an eyelash on this side. So you end up getting, as you progressively, you feel as you go across the eye, right? And I've only had this happen once, but it taught me a very valuable lesson. Because when I was first starting, I'd been working for a long time, the client had to leave, and I was only halfway done, so they had to leave with half of their lashes lashed, okay? Like, what if that ever happens again? What if I have a client that has to leave in the middle of it? What if they get an emergency phone call? I want them to leave with a semi-decent, you know, set of lashes, and then they can come back. I don't want them to leave, yeah. So, the way I do it, and the way I'm gonna teach you guys too, is once you get these 3 placed, you're gonna come to this eye and you're gonna do the same thing. Come over a third, isolate. That's okay. You can just practice and prep on one side. I'm just showing you guys
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
how to do it. You can get my bead of glue. Start halfway. Swipe. Wipe out the excess. Get that whole lash coated. And drop it into place.
So glad it's on a mannequin.
Come over a third. Isolate. And I promise you guys, as you're working on your mannequin, once you get through a full set, isolating on a mannequin is so much harder than isolating on real people. You're gonna isolate on a real person for the first time and you're gonna be like, oh, that's not that bad at all. Got my beads of glue. I'm gonna start in the middle, swipe. Wipe out the excess. Swipe the rest of that glue along the lash line or along the eyelash, and just drop it into place.
It just sticks there.
It just sticks there.
So you just have to keep it isolated until it dries.
Just a few seconds, and then you can let it go. And then I'm gonna come back. Do my very inner corner. About the excess.
I really thought it was more glue than that. In my head, I thought it was like.
Let it go. Then you're gonna come back and you're gonna go in between each one of those that you just placed. So I'm coming in between the first 2 that I placed and I'm doing a lash.
How do you keep track of what you've done? But we're standing.
You will be able to see it a lot better than you can, because I didn't get very long ones on this. You'll be able to see it a lot better. But I keep track of what I've done because I just go through and I cut in half everywhere that I've been. Because I know I've done a third, so I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna split that in half, so like a quarter-ish of the eye. I'm gonna swipe. So depending on how many sections you did the first time, I usually start out with just the 3 sections. If I'm doing more than 3 lengths of lashes, then of course I have more, but it's usually 3. So my next pass, I'm only doing 2, because I only have 2 things to cut in half, right?
Yeah.
But then I go back and I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as I go through each time, right? Does that make sense? I can draw it up on the board if you guys need me to.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Did you want us to practice? You said with all 3 links, or just one?
You guys can do whatever you want. It's your pass-off set. You can do it however you want to do it. I just want you to practice. Does anybody else need to come closer and see how these are placed? So, center of the lash, swipe, wipe off the excess. Make sure that whole lash is coated in place.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Do I have a whiteboard?
eyeballs. So let's say we're doing our cat eye, right? So I'm gonna come in, we're doing 12s, 11s, and 10s. And on this side it'd be a 12, an 11, and 10. Can everybody see that? Okay. So the first place I'm going to place my lash extension is where it's gonna transition from a 12 to an 11. So I'm coming in about a third of the way and I'm placing a lash extension here. Okay, that's gonna be a 12. Then where it's transitioning from an 11 to a 10, I'm gonna place my 11. Then I'm coming to my very inner corner and I'm placing my 10. Then I'll come to this side and do the same thing. My 12, my 11, and my 10. Wish I had a bunch of different colored markers. That would make this easier, but that's okay. My next pass, I'm coming in and I'm going in between. So actually, I am going to do 3. Because now I'm going to do my very outer corner. Give me my 12.
Why are we glasses?
Okay.
I don't know. You reading glasses. You can also.
Oh, I guess I do. Now that I'm thinking about it, I do my outer corner on my first pass too. So I do my very outer corner
On your
the third on my first pass.
Okay.
I do my very outer corner, come in. Yeah. So then my second pass, I come in between. So then I cut where these two 12s are. I cut that in half with a 12. Remember, this was my transition one. So in between here, I'm doing an 11, cutting. And then this was my transition. So between here and here, I'm doing a 10. Then we can come over. In between, I'm doing a 12. I'm doing an 11. And I'm doing a 10. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut each of those in half. So then I'm going to do a 12. But, because I don't want to push glue into this one, instead of going right along, I'm doing my 12, and then I'm going to come to this inner corner and do a 10. Then I'm going to come back. I'm going to do a 12. And I'm going to do a 10. I'm going to do an 11. And I'm going to carefully do an 11. So then I cut each of those in half. Make sense? Do my 12. I'm going to do my 10.
Okay,
I'm
and
going
you
to do
start.
my 11. I'm going to do a 10. I'm going to do, just kidding, it should be a 12.
And you started at the 12 on the outer corner.
Uh-huh. I'm doing an 11, and I'm carefully doing an 11. Usually by about this point, we have to, well, I can usually do one more pass in that order. So then I'm gonna come back to this side. I'm gonna do a 12. I'm gonna do a 10. I'm gonna do a 12. I'm gonna do a 10. I'm gonna do a 12. I'm gonna do a 10. I'm gonna do a 12. I'm gonna do a 10. I'm gonna do an 11. I'm gonna do an 11. But I'm not gonna be able to, it'll get pushed into glue, so I'm gonna come over to this side. Do my 12, my 10, my 12, my 10, my 12, my 10, my 12, my 10, my 11, my 11. Then I'm gonna come back to this side. I'm gonna do my 11. Come back to this side, do my 11. Come back to this side, do my 11. Come back to this side, do my 11. At this point in time, you're about halfway done. And if your client had an emergency and they had to leave, they're gonna leave with a somewhat decent set of lashes, right? How many lashes did we say a full set was? Between 40 and 60? Mm-hmm. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, oops, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We have 25, so we're halfway through, right? This is the point where I start going back and forth, just placing one and then placing the other. So then I come in, start here, I place my 12, and I come over here, and I place my 12. Okay? Come here, and I place my 12, and I come here, and I place my 12. And I start cutting back and forth. Does that make sense? Like, do you guys understand why I fill in once I get to that about that halfway point? I start going back and forth because as I'm isolating, otherwise I'm going to be pushing lashes into wet glue and then they stick together.
Yeah, mine are sticking.
It happens. About every third time. So I do 1, 1, 2, 2. When I get back here on 3, before I go again, I'm gonna do what's called preening. Preening is when I take my lashes and I'm gonna go through, just like a bird preens its feathers. That's why it's called that. I'm gonna take my tweezers and I'm just going to go through and make sure none of my lashes are sticking. I'm just gonna run my tweezers between all of them. You can brush them with your spoolie and see if it snags anywhere. You can go through and preen. One other thing I do is I take my straight tweezers and I come through and I just lift to make sure nothing is stuck to the tape. Because nothing is worse than when you go to take off your client's lashes and they have lashes stuck to the tape and then it hurts. And you want to do it catch it fairly soon because the longer it cures, the harder it is to get off the tape. So just go through.
So how often would you go through and kind of do that, like just the lift?
I do it every third time.
Oh, okay.
So then I'll come back on this one and I would do it to this eye. And then I do my 1, 2, 3 again. It's just every third time I come back to that eye.
So how long do we have to isolate?
You want to hold that. Usually once I get the lash in place, with this glue, I say count to 10. And then move on to the next one. By then, it's usually held enough that it's not gonna stick together.
Bree, did you see that set that I sent you the other day?
Yes, it looks so good.
That was
What?
a lot.